Hey, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Sales Team Ready podcast, where everything is possible, where there are no such thing as limits and obstacles, only opportunities, right? That there is nothing but the mountaintop to be reached. You are in the right place. This podcast is for people who know that they are sold out for something more, and for those who desire the mountaintop more than anything. I'm your host, Jim Padilla. If you stick around till the end, we're giving away gifts and bonuses that will help your scaling journey. Right? So make sure you listen all the way to the end for the details. But before we start our episode today, go to my website, jimp360.com. Connect with me there. You can find all of my social medias, my videos, our resources, what we have going on, promotions, how to hire us, how to work for us, and anything else, all under one location at jimp360.com. We're here to serve, make some magic happen. Make sure when you get there, hit that contact button, reach out to me and shoot me a text and let me know that you're here and you found me on the podcast. I would love to see what we can help you solve in your scaling journey. Let's dive in.
So last time in part one of the prospect journey, we went through planning and leading your prospect through this journey, because you get to lead them by the hand through this journey. It's not just hoping that they will do something specific. You get to lead them through that journey. And you do that through a few different methods. And we talked about how you plan every step of the way so that it's a logical path for them to go down. So as you're steering the ship for those prospects, you're leading them through to the offer. It's always about the offer, right? Everything is to do with the offer. So you're not going to leave anything to chance. Going to start with your offer in mind. And then we talked about reverse engineering it so that you can build your content through to that offer. And we're going to talk about the nurture and content today. So we talked about my little graphic that I had, the pebble in the pond example, and why it's really important to always serve your ideal client only. Don't try and serve everybody, because we know that those people could still buy, but you really want to concentrate on that main client. We talked about that pebble in the pond. That's your ideal client. So with that end goal in mind of them purchasing your main offer, you're going to talk about your pain points that your avatar has and how you solve them. And the prospect journey is really all about how you solve those pain points one by one all along that path. And your goal is to lead them down that path to be ready to buy at events, launches, even one-on-one calls with you. We talked about the different stages of buyers, the ones that are ready now. Those are your low-hanging fruit. Those are the ones that are actively looking for a solution. They're ready right now. And this stage of buyer does not want to go through the entire customer path, the whole journey. This frustrates them and slows them down. If they can't get a solution to their problem right now, they're just going to go away and find somebody who can. They just want to give you their money, so let them. Self-aware, this client is aware they have a problem. They may or may not actively be seeking a solution or even clear on how they can solve it. They know they have a problem, but they're not really sure on how to solve it. They might be looking for solutions, but probably it's not the solution that's going to solve that problem. You're going to be speaking to them in multiple touch points along the way in your prospect journey that clearly outlines the solution for them. And then the last stage is the agitated stage. This client they have some form of agitation, but they're not really completely aware of what their problem even is, and they're not in a hurry to ease the pain. So they might even attribute their frustration as something completely different, and something that, if it were solved, may not necessarily even fix their issues. So this is a long-term nurture prospect that you can, help them solve that pain along the way, so that when they get to your offer, they're ready to buy. Those are the ones that typically need to be educated along the way as well, with what the problems, the real problems that they're having are, and what the real solutions would be. So with that said, prospect journey part 2 is all about the nurturing of that client down that path, and the content. What kind of content do you need to use, and why are you using it at different stages, and what's it all for? So we're going to go through and talk about that today. So here's the specific things we're going to be talking about. Again, I cannot say this enough. All roads lead to your offer. We don't want generic content that may or may not even pertain to your ideal client. This is all going to pertain to your offer, whatever's in your offer. Last time we were talking about, I think it was I don't remember who it was now, but somebody was talking about adding something additional into their nurture content. And I asked her, do you have that in your offer? And she said, no. So then that means unless it's in your offer, you're not going to be featuring it in your nurture content. Okay. All roads lead to your offer. So the content provides a solution to their problems, right? So we want to make sure that all of that content, solves their problems. Otherwise, they're not going to see why they need to buy your offer, right? Content can be educational, inspirational. You're going to seed your offer through your content. I'm not sure if you guys know what seeding is. I'm pretty sure you probably do. Every piece of content ties together and builds on the next, but it can also stand alone. And we're going to talk about that. So don't worry if you're not sure about it. So here's, I'm going to keep saying it over and over until you guys are sick of me hearing it. All roads lead to your offer. So what you need to do is connect the dots for your prospects. So they might not really even understand why you're presenting a specific piece of content. They're going to go, well, what does that have to do with that over there? What does that have to do with me? Or what does that have to do with how you can solve my problem? And so in this instance, what you're going to do is when you're presenting, a video, blog post, or whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to relate it to their situation and how your what you're teaching and what your offer is solves that problem. And because sometimes people don't understand, what certain things mean. They just want the outcome. They don't necessarily want to see what we call the climb. Like if you're climbing a mountain, they don't want to know how hard it's going to be. They just want the outcome. They want to see the mountaintop, right? So you just need to connect the dots for those people and let them know how, what it's going to look like at the top because of what you're doing. So they don't see the vision that you do in your head. We know we're experts at it, but they don't know that. And so you need to connect the dots with them with your content. Every piece of content is going to provide the problem and the solution that points to your offer. Okay, so if it's not in your offer, you're not going to use it as content. When you are in a launch or are leading up to an event of any kind, a webinar, 1-day event, 3-day event, or anything like that, you're always going to have a problem and a solution that points to your offer. Here's where the seeding your offer takes place. So if you've not heard this expression before, what you're doing is you're using natural opportunities to reference the solutions in your offer, right? So you're not going to say, okay, I'm going to seed my offer now. You're going to say, whatever you're talking about in that moment, you're going to say, I have worked with clients that, and you reference that specific thing you just talked about. And through our work together, we were able to solve their problem. So you're using it in a natural way where you're not actually saying, pitching your offer right there. You're just referencing specific things that your offer has solved or your work together with your clients has solved so that it sounds like a natural sentence. You're not pitching. You can also present client testimonials. This is an excellent way of seeding your offer because what's better than a client testimonial to show how good your work is, right? They're happy, they got results, and that's the best case scenario to seed your offer. You can also show examples of your work, case studies and that sort of thing. These are great ways to show examples of your work. So content stacking. This is where every piece of content ties together and builds on the next, but it can also stand alone. And I've got examples of this in some slides coming up. But basically what this is that because not everybody's going to see everything in order, right? So somebody might come upon your content and you're in a launch situation or you're in a halfway to marketing your event or things like that, and they come in somewhere in the middle and they haven't seen any of the stuff previous, right? So you have to make sure that that piece of content makes sense all on its own, but it also builds the momentum leading up to your event or launching a product or something along those lines. Okay, so let's talk about some types of content that you might use. And these are all familiar to you guys, I'm sure. You've got your lead magnets, your web pages, which are your opt-in, your sales page, thank you page. Now you notice there's not a website on here because your website isn't necessarily a sales tool. It's kind of like your home office, right? It's your brochure, if you will. It's not necessarily designed for selling in most cases. So I'm talking about sales type of content here. Emails and headlines are, of course, big selling tools. Headlines are super popular because if you don't get the headline right, you can be writing the most amazing emails. And if the headline sucks, they're not going to open it, right? So what's it all for? Webinars and events, of course, are great for selling your offer. Podcasts, interviews. With podcasts and interviews, if they are, most times longer term, right? So somebody might come across your podcast 2 years from now. So it still needs to be relevant to your offer. And then, of course, there's blog posts, articles, videos, that sort of thing. So what goes in a winning content piece? I'm going to explain each one of these individually, but you basically got your introduction and credentials. Your content can be inspirational and educational, which I highly recommend. It solves one problem. It's got stories, case studies, testimonials. It guides their journey along the way. And every piece of content needs to have a call to action. Don't ever just leave them dangling. You want to have that call to action every single time. So your introduction and credentials. Now, what I mean by this is I don't mean where you went to school and your certificates and all of those kinds of things. It really depends on the type of content that you're using at this point, right? So let's just say, for example, you're shooting a video and it's going to be shared widely. You don't know who's going to see it. So you might start off by saying, "Hi, my name is Debbie Peck. I'm from Gain the Edge," and that sort of thing, right? Just simple who you are and what your company name is. And then you're going to present why you're qualified to teach this information, right? Because if it's just some random person, why should they listen to you? They want to know, you can say, "Well, I've been in business for 20 years. I've been," and you just sort of give just a little background on who you are and why you're qualified to teach this information. Or I've been, I'm designated as an RN, or whatever is a credential piece for your business. Again, it doesn't apply to every single piece of content, but in most content, it does make a difference if they actually see you as credible. You're going to talk a little bit about your background and experience, right? And you can do that through telling your story. And that's an important piece as well. So all of this is designed to basically set you up as the expert.
Sales Team Ready podcast is sponsored by Gain the Edge. Gain the Edge is a sales acceleration company that helps people build systems and teams and strategies that help you actually have a business that is designed to generate revenue instead of just accidentally making it. Please check us out in the show notes because we have monthly workshops that are designed to help you get this in play. Visit the links in the show notes. And if you can't sign up for the one that's here, make sure you get yourself on the waiting list and we'll get you taken care of.
The next part of producing a winning content piece is the how, right? The inspirational piece, the educational part of it. People love the how. They want to know how things are done. What are the steps that you take to solving a problem? Because it's not enough just to say, "Oh, I solved this problem. I have lots of great clients, blah, blah, blah." You have to say how. How are you going to do that for them? And honestly, you can't go too in depth because what I mean by that is you can go as in depth as you need to go. You can literally give everything away in one small content piece. They're still going to buy your offer because they will know that you know what you're talking about, and they're not going to be able to take that one tiny content piece and go out and do it themselves, right? They're going to need all those tiny content pieces put together, which is what your offer is, right? You want to inspire the audience. You can tell stories, you can do, case studies again, all of those kinds of things. Inspire people by showing them what's possible. Inspire them by showing the greater vision, showing them that mountaintop. Again, in every piece of content, you want to have a call to action. This is super important. Never just, write a blog post or have a video and say, "Okay, thanks, have a nice day." You want to have a call to action on every single piece. Okay, so this is really important. The next part of your winning content piece is it solves one problem and one problem only. One problem, one solution. Do not try and solve everything that your offer solves in every single piece of nurture content. Even a larger piece like a webinar or an event, you don't want to solve the whole world's problems with that one webinar, right? You're going to pick one piece and teach that. You're going to make that one piece your sole focus. And the reason why that's really important is because if you try and cram everything in to that one piece, it's going to get convoluted. They're not really going to understand what the point is and that sort of thing. When you start to veer into another subject, if you start to feel yourself doing that when you're creating your content piece, no problem. That's great. Now you've got another subject, another piece of content idea there. So you can just starting the second piece and just concentrate on that first problem and solve that problem only. Stories, case studies, and testimonials. This is what shows credibility. It allows the audience to see themselves potentially in that situation, right? Or in a similar situation, because we've all been in that situation where you've been reading something on Facebook or on a sales page or something like that, and you go, oh my gosh, that's me they just described, right? Because the clients, all the ideal clients are very similar or the same, and they're going to see themselves in that situation. And when they do, they're going to be comfortable purchasing your offer because everybody else is the same and they're all getting results too. They're the same as you. So, and then this is proof that your methodology works. When you can tell stories and case studies and show testimonials of people that have already done what you're teaching, then it's proof. And they're like, okay, well, they're doing it. Then, I can do it too. And most importantly, it guides their journey. You want to plan your content pieces to fit into the time available. We talked about this last time for promoting an event or a launch. So if you're between events or launches or that sort of thing, you can still do different content, but I always like to tie it into what my main offer is in some way, right? Because what that does is it shows that you're the expert in that subject. And there's no question that that's what you do. So somebody says, there's a few people on Facebook where they're very prolific writers, and I see them writing about their stuff all the time. I have no idea what they do because they're just posting kind of random stuff or leadership stuff or things like that. One day they're talking about one subject, the next day they're talking about another subject, and so on. So I really have no idea what they do. So when you keep it tight to what your offer is, it's very obvious what you do, and people will trust you because they know that you're the expert in that subject. When you're guiding them on their journey with your content, by the time they reach your main offer, it's going to be a no-brainer because you've solved this little problem, you've solved this little problem, you've solved this little problem, and it's going to make sense to them. They're going to realize at the end of that road, oh my gosh, like this totally makes sense to me, why I need this now, right? So you're just going to keep nurturing them through until they purchase, no matter how long it takes. Some people, like I say, will be ready right away. Some people are looking, and you might solve one or two little problems with your content, and now they're ready to buy right away. Some people need to be nurtured all the way, and it might take quite a while. So, but one of the things that you might solve is if you're positioning your content this way, you could potentially shorten your buying cycle by doing it this way. Because if you're just throwing out random content here and there, still may be related to your industry, but if you're not guiding them to that, to the buying end, they might not recognize that, and it may take much, much longer for them to make a purchase. The call to action at every step is for that reason, because some buyers are going to be ready right now. Some buyers aren't quite ready. They're looking for a solution. And if you can prove to them that you have that solution right now, they're going to buy. So, but you want to have either one or the other. Don't have more than one call to action in your piece of content, but every content, whether it's an email, video, podcast interview, whatever it is, you're going to have a call to action. That might be to follow you on YouTube. It might be to whatever your next logical step is in that journey, you're going to ask them to take that step. And you're going to provide a link or a URL or whatever it is you're going to provide for them to take them to that next step. You're the leader here. You're going to lead them to that step. Or you're going to give them the opportunity to buy now, if it makes sense. So what is nurture content? Content that is presented the PSPS style so that the prospect finds value in each piece and is interested in purchasing the entire main product at the end. And for those of you that weren't here last time, PSPS stands for problem, solution, problem, solution. Last time we talked about how each micro problem and micro solution creates the next problem and solution. So once they've finished the solving the first problem, now what? Now you're going to present, okay, now that you've done this, you need this. And it's a next logical step along the path. And we have some samples here that we're going to show you. Your nurture content can also do things like overcome objections, answer questions that prospects have. This is really important because they're going to see the solutions to their problems and they're going to think, oh yeah, this is great, but what about this? Or, but what about that? And you can actually have things in your content that overcome those objections. You're going to talk about maybe you're selling a physical product and people are like, oh, this is really cool, but does it come in blue? And at somewhere in your content, you're going to say, we have a full range of colors. It comes in red, it comes in blue, it comes in purple, et cetera, et cetera. And so now you've answered their question and they're happy. In the online world, sometimes in launches, people will actually do a whole email with FAQs. They'll have frequently asked questions, say, I've had questions coming in from people, and I thought you might have some questions too, so I just wanted to share this with you. And they'll have actually 4 or 5 questions in that email that answers them. That person didn't necessarily ask, but they're thinking about it. And so answering questions in your content is a really great idea. Think of nurture content kind of almost like a dripped out sales letter. You know how in a sales letter, you've got the different sections, who it's for, what the problem is, what it solves, what's in the offer, all of those things. Think about dripping out content that way so that you're focusing on each section individually in those content pieces. Finally, the power of consistency. I cannot stress this enough. By making sure that your content is going out on a regular basis, whether it's emails, social media, whether you're speaking somewhere on a regular basis, this is super important. If you're taking long gaps of time and not being visible, that tends to be a little bit of an issue because people forget pretty easy. The landscape out there now is super noisy. I mean, it's getting harder and harder to get seen on social media because, there's so much chatter out there. So be consistent, be putting out at least one piece of content a week minimum. And I'm going to show you a method that I use for repurposing content so that it makes sense for you, so that you're not keeping on inventing the wheel week after week, going, oh my gosh, what am I going to post? What are my emails going to say? I mean, those should be planned in advance, and there's an easy way to do that. So we talked about last time starting from the main offer and breaking it down all the way down to the opt-in gift. What I want to talk about is the through line or the theme to your offer. You want to keep that the same so that people know, again, that that's what you're the expert in, right? So let's just look at Sales Team Ready Mastermind because you guys are in it, you understand what it is, and the content that you may have gone through to get there before you came into this mastermind, right? So it solved your problem. You wanted to learn more about how to outsource a sales team, fix your main offer, all of those kinds of things, right? You likely went through a webinar or a workshop at some point that solved one problem, right? From joining Sales Team Ready. And you had nurture emails along the way that was helping you make that decision to get into Sales Team Ready, right? And then also, I don't know what you opted in for initially. It may have been a webinar or a workshop. It may have been maybe an opt-in gift like a PDF or something like that. And I'm going to show you the Sales Team Ready actual real examples. And then we talked about using the Ninja thank you page. And we're going to show you that example too. So here is the Gain the Edge opt-in page. You guys may or may not have seen this, depending on where you came into the Gain the Edge world, right? You may have seen a webinar or a one-day event or something like that along the way. So I'm not sure where you opted in. You may or may not have seen this particular page. So, so the problem was, maybe you wanted to host an event, but you don't know what, you don't have any ideas for that. And so what happens is they've got the solution, because they know that people that would be interested in joining the Sales Team Ready Mastermind are likely to want to do an event at some point, because that's a great way to get a lot of people in front of you so that you can present your offer, right? So the solution to this was they have an opt-in gift. It's a PDF guide called 29 Profitable Online Event Ideas. Does that solve the problem of wanting to host an event, but you don't have an idea, right? This one also calls out the ideal clients. Actually, I'm going to go to the next slide first, and then I'll come back to this. So there's what the actual page looks like. Okay, so they're calling out, you can see here, for coaches, consultants, business owners. It talks about what the problem is here, and that they have the solution. Okay, I'm going to go back here for a second. So yeah, it calls out the ideal clients, coaches, consultants, business owners. It agitates the problem. Your income's not predictable, right? You need to grow your audience. So an event is a great way to do that, right? The solution is to generate more revenue, reach more qualified people, and build better and deeper connections. It offers social proof and shows credibility. I didn't show that part because that was sort of the top that I screenshotted, but if you were at that page and you scrolled below, it had some testimonials from clients and things like that. So, and the call to action here is that you can download it instantly. Oops, sorry. You can download it instantly. If you were on this actual page, you could scroll down and you'd see a little bit more of, like I say, client testimonials. There's some, it introduces Jim and Cindy and talks a little bit more about Gain the Edge, who they are, who they've worked with and why they're successful and things like that. So this page is a really great example of a small micro problem. This in and of itself is not going to get you sales team ready, right? It's not going to get you ready for an event. All it is it's a great little PDF guide that suggests 29 profitable online event ideas, right? And it's going to give you just kind of the start of the whole process. So we also talked about the thank you page, right? Where the thank you page thanks them, it sends them to the email to check for their email gift. And if you remember last time I was talking, I called this the Ninja thank you page. And the reason is because I want them to go to email to check for their free gift. I want them to see your name and be in the habit of looking for your name when they're looking for something from you. And if you're delivering it by email, they're going to be more likely to open it. If you deliver your thank you gift on your thank you page, now they have no reason to go to their email, right? It's going to increase your open rates in your email as well. The other thing that the Gain the Edge thank you page shows is it gives a bonus, which in this case is a video. I'm going to show you this page in a second. This content agitates the next problem. The next action step is with a CTA, call to action, invites them to a workshop. It offers the solution in the next step, build your virtual one-day event. It provides testimonials and credibility. Same thing when you scroll down. And I'm going to show you that in a second. But here's the thing. You had an event, you had an idea that you wanted to do an event, but you don't know how to create one, right? First of all, you didn't even know what kind of event you wanted to have. You thought, oh, maybe I should do an event, but you didn't know, you didn't have any ideas. So the first thing that they presented you was with the PDF guide. And now, in this case, here's the thank you page. So you can see at the top here, thanks for grabbing your copy. Your free guide is on its way to your email inbox. Personally, I always like to say, instead of free guide, I always like to put the name of it. It just solidifies what they opted in for. While you wait for your free guide, I've prepared something special. And so here's a video of Jim, and he's talking about build your virtual online event, which is their one-day workshop. And so that's the problem, solution, and now this is the next problem. And the solution is build your virtual one-day workshop. Okay, so this is a really great example of the Ninja thank you page, where you are utilizing this piece of real estate to take the client on the next step of the journey. You never want to just say, thanks for opting in, and that's it, because you want to make sure that you're capitalizing on every opportunity where your client's eyeballs are. So here's what I call the ninja thank you page. So you've got your next action step, which is thank you for subscribing. Check your email to receive your free gift. In this case, extra free content. It could be written. It can be a video like Jim has. You might have a little blurb about you if you haven't done that already. And let's just say your goal is to get people to book a call with you. You could have a link to your calendar here, a link to your scheduler, so that people can book a call. And this could be a video talking about what you're going to do on that call potentially. So in the Gain the Edge one, they had a link to go and register for that one-day workshop. It could be a webinar or whatever it is. The point is if you've used this page as great real estate to guide them on the next step. Sometimes I like to say here, congratulations. That's another word. And what that word congratulations does is it confirms that they made the right decision. It's confirming that it's kind of a pat on the back for them to say that they have made this right choice and that they are, going to be receiving this, and you've kept your promise, right? Sometimes people have left this off, and this is a really big problem. If they leave this thank you and check your email, if you don't have that there, that's a huge problem, because people opted in for something, but now they're presented with this page where you're trying to invite them to something else, and they're like, but where's my gift, right? So you have to make sure you address that you acknowledge that they asked for this gift, right? They've just given you personal details, so they want to know, hey, where's my gift? So I want to show you a piece of content that I revamped for somebody. We talked last time about a client years ago that had a weight loss boot camp, and she had created this on the left-hand side. The before, it was a 200-page book, and it was basically very generic. It didn't say who it was for. It was just called Healthy 7, Your Guide to Weight Loss Success. And it was really this long, boring 200-page book. Just really didn't have anything about her, about the person presenting it, nothing. And so after we did our work together and we realized who her ideal client was, it was busy moms, we created this PDF booklet that was called 5 Kid-Friendly Healthy Meals in Under 30 Minutes, because we knew it was highly targeted to moms. They had very little time to be creating this kind of healthy meals and snacks because they're running their kids to baseball and soccer and what have you. And so in the before option, we had no downloads at all. Before she was working with us, she had nothing. Nobody, not even one person downloaded the Healthy 7 book. Afterwards, we had thousands of people download this. We had a Facebook ad running, and we had thousands of people download that book. So again, this is from that previous example. The old lead magnet was too generic, too lengthy. It didn't solve a specific problem at all. It just was this generic information, which was nice, but it just didn't solve any specific problem. And it also did not call out the ideal client. The new one, it offers a solution, which is the download instantly. Both of them had that, but the other one didn't really have a reason for you to download it. And it also had, in this case, some testimonials and credibility, which weren't shown. You had to scroll down a little bit. You guys downloaded this spreadsheet last time, hopefully, and you took your own offer and broke it apart to see what your main offer has and what does it solve, and then reverse engineered it and broke it back into what are the micro problems. And you wanted to have several so that you could turn these into content. So what was the problem? What was the solution? And now we're going to talk about what content you could use to solve that problem. If it's kind of a bigger problem, maybe you need to use a one-day event or a webinar or something that is a bit more meaty. If it's a smaller problem, you could just make a PDF booklet, or it could be speaking on a summit or a podcast, or something where you're solving that problem, but you're only solving one problem at a time. If you have your worksheet ready, you can start plugging in that content here as we start talking more about this. So again, your prospect journey roadmap, and I've added in a little bit here in the Sales Team Ready Mastermind offer. If we go back to the opt-in, they could have offered the 29 profitable event ideas. And then they went into the nurture sequence with the emails. And then I've got 3 PSPSs here, but I know that they do more than that. But just as an example, the first thing you got invited to was the Build Your Virtual Event workshop, the one day. Then they had the Create Your Compelling and Converting Offer. That is another workshop that they offer. And then also social media is all along the way as well. They're always constantly posting on social media, talking about those build your virtual event, creating your compelling and converting offer, because those are all components of the Sales Team Ready Mastermind, right? We're talking about events. We're talking about, cleaning up your offer. There's also work on how to create how to find your ideal client. So those are all components of the Sales Team Ready Mastermind. But those pieces in and of themselves aren't going to solve the whole thing. I mean, the Sales Team Ready Mastermind is a 12-month journey, right? And so it would be really difficult for anybody to take that entire offer and smush it into one piece of content because it's just too big.